It took me 10 years to realize what you're about to learn in the next 8 minutes. 10 years. More than 3,600 days. Gone. Not because I was lazy, not because I was stupid, but because I believed things that sounded true. And that's the dangerous part. The beliefs that waste your life rarely sound wrong. They sound reasonable. They sound intelligent. They sound safe. Let me ask you something. What if the thing holding you back right now isn't a lack of talent? What if it isn't a lack of money? What if it isn't a lack of opportunity? What if it's a belief you've never questioned? A belief that feels right, but is quietly stealing years from your life? Because that's exactly what happened to me. And if you're not careful, the next 10 years could disappear the same way. The first thing I was wrong about was effort. For years, I believed working harder was the answer. If I wasn't getting results, I needed more effort. If I wasn't succeeding, I needed more hours. So I pushed harder. I stayed busy. I kept moving. But eventually I noticed something. Some of the hardest working people I knew were still stuck. They were exhausted. Bozu, always moving. Yet somehow, they weren't getting closer to the life they wanted. Then I realized something. Effort is important, but direction is more important. You can spend 10 years climbing a ladder only to discover it was leaning against the wrong wall. Working harder on the wrong thing doesn't solve the problem. It only gets you to the wrong destination faster. Ask yourself this. If you continue doing exactly what you're doing today for the next 5 years, where will you end up? Would you be proud of that future? Or disappointed by it? Most people never ask that question. They're so focused on moving that they forget to ask where they're going. The second thing I was wrong about was success. I thought successful people knew something I didn't. I imagined they had a secret formula, a hidden advantage, a piece of information I was missing. I kept searching for it. One more book, one more course, one more video, one more strategy. But after watching successful people closely, I noticed something surprising. Most of them didn't know everything. Most of them weren't perfectly prepared. Most of them didn't feel ready. They simply acted. While other people analyzed, they started. While other people hesitated, they moved. While other people waited for certainty, they accepted uncertainty. The difference wasn't knowledge. The difference was execution. And that's when I noticed something else. The world rarely rewards what you know. It rewards what you do. A person can read 100 books about fitness. Another person can read one. If the second person exercises every day, who gets the result? A person can spend years studying business. Another person can start a small business and learn from experience. Who learns faster? Knowledge is valuable, but unused knowledge has very little value. In fact, some people use learning as a way to avoid acting. Learning feels productive. Planning feels productive. Research feels productive. But none of those things automatically change your life. Action does. And that was one of the hardest lessons for me to accept. That realization was uncomfortable because it destroyed my favorite excuse. If success isn't hiding behind secret information, then I can't blame a lack of knowledge anymore. The responsibility becomes mine. Think about your own life. How many times have you told yourself, I need more information, I need more preparation, I need more certainty? But what if you already know enough? What if the gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't knowledge? What if it's action? If one of these lessons is hitting harder than expected, leave a comment below. Wake up call. I'm curious which lesson you're learning right now. The third thing I was wrong about was people. I spent years worrying about what other people thought of me. I worried about looking foolish. I worried about being judged. I worried about making mistakes. I worried about failing in public. And because of those fears, I delayed many things I should have started much earlier. Then one day I realized something almost embarrassing. Most people weren't paying attention to me at all. They were too busy thinking about themselves, too busy worrying about their own problems, too busy fighting their own insecurities. The spotlight, I felt, was mostly in my imagination. Let me ask you a question. Can you remember what a stranger wore 3 weeks ago? Probably not. Can you remember an embarrassing mistake someone made 6 months ago? Probably not. Then why do we assume everyone remembers ours? Most people are too busy living their own lives to spend much time judging yours. And when I understood that, I felt free. Free to try. Free to fail. Free to learn. Free to improve. Imagine how different your life would look if you stopped worrying about people who aren't even paying attention. How many opportunities would you take? How many risks would you finally accept? How many dreams would you stop postponing? The fourth and most painful thing I was wrong about was time. When you're young, 10 years sounds like forever. You assume you'll always have more time, more opportunities, more chances, more tomorrows. So you delay important decisions. You postpone meaningful goals. You convince yourself you'll start later, but later arrives faster than you think. One day I looked back and an entire decade was gone. Not because of one big mistake, not because of one dramatic failure, but because of thousands of small decisions. A day wasted here, a week wasted there, a month spent waiting, a year spent postponing, and eventually, those days became years. That's when I understood something that changed my life. Time is the real currency. Most people think they're losing money. Very few realize they're losing time. And the frightening part is that you rarely notice it happening. You don't wake up one morning and lose 10 years. You lose them one ordinary day at a time. One unnecessary delay. One excuse. One promise to start tomorrow. Then one day you look back and wonder where the years went. The answer is simple. They went where your days went. Because years are nothing more than days repeated. Money can be recovered. Some opportunities can return. Time never does. Every day you spend becomes part of your life forever. And the quality of your future depends on how you spend your ordinary days. Not your extraordinary days. Your ordinary ones. Imagine meeting yourself 10 years from now. What would that version of you say? Would they thank you? Or would they ask why you waited so long? Why you kept postponing? Why you kept telling yourself tomorrow? Because one day, tomorrow runs out. And that realization is far more frightening than failure. Looking back, these lessons seem simple, but simple doesn't mean easy. Most people don't learn these lessons late because they're hard to understand. They learn them late because they're hard to accept. It's easier to believe effort alone is enough. It's easier to keep searching for secret knowledge. It's easier to fear judgment. It's easier to assume there will always be more time. But reality eventually teaches the truth. The only question is how long it takes. For me, it took 10 years. 10 years of mistakes. 10 years of unnecessary delays. 10 years of learning things the hard way. Before you leave, think about one final question. What lesson are you currently paying for with your time? Because every person is paying for a lesson. Some pay with money, some pay with stress, some pay with missed opportunities, and some pay with years. I paid with 10. You don't have to. If this message resonated with you, leave a comment below. Time matters. And tell me which lesson hit you the hardest. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe. Because the most expensive mistakes in life are rarely dramatic. They're the small mistakes, repeated for years. And the people who build extraordinary lives aren't always the smartest. They're the ones who learn the lesson before life is forced to teach it again. 10 years from now will arrive whether you're ready or not. The question is, who will you be when it gets here?